Hi, I'm Councillor Diana Dilworth, Chair of the Economic Development Committee and your host for the 9th Annual Golden Spike Awards here at Port Moody City Hall. You know, this event has come a long way. This is the night that Port Moody residents and businesses celebrate business excellence. You can see behind me, we have literally dozens and dozens and dozens of business owners that are coming to network with their fellow business colleagues and to recognize the accomplishments that they've all made. It's certainly a night of celebration here, and I'm certainly looking forward to see who's won the coveted Spike Award in 2014. So it is Small Business Week in the province, and certainly we're celebrating Small Business Week here in Port Moody. And I would just like a show of hands. How many of you guys have shopped at a Port Moody business this week? Woo! Woo! How many people have shopped at 2, 3, 4, 5? You know, we've got a pretty short and sweet agenda this evening. Mayor Mike Clay is going to join us to give some opening remarks, and then I'll be asking longtime Port Moody resident Sean Aiken to come up and join us on stage and talk to us about helping youth entrepreneurs find their passion and supporting their own growth and their own journey to find what drives them in business. Right now, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Councillor Rosemary Small, who is going to introduce the mayor. Now, Rosemary's been actively involved in the Economic Development Committee over the last 3 years, and last year she was actually chair of this event. So over to Rosemary. I got there and see
Thank you. So there are 8 categories we're recognizing here tonight: arts and business, street appeal, customer service, technology and innovation, environmental sustainability, tourist destination, home-based business, and employer of choice. Once we've given out all the awards, our 1-minute pitch participants have the floor and 60 seconds to tell us about their best idea, service or business. I'll be asking all those participants to come down to the front later on tonight and pitch to you, our audience, and to our distinguished panel of judges. At this time, I would like to invite Mayor Mike Clay to join us on stage. Mayor Clay was first elected in 2005 as a city councillor and again in 2008. During his time as a councillor, Mike was an active member of the Economic Development Committee and was the driving force behind the creation of the city's business roundtables. Upon getting elected to mayor's office in 2011, Mike continued to support the local business community and his mayor's Business Summit breakfast. Please join us, Mike.
How do I start this, Mike? If Mike Huffman was here tonight, he would say, why isn't there a category for best brewery in Port Moody? I don't know if you've noticed, but there's some things starting to happen in this city, and I think they're really exciting. We're starting to get a diversity of small business, and just, again, the number of people in the room, I think, shows that we're heading in the right direction and that we're attracting a lot of really exciting small business to the city, and they're locally owned business, and there's nothing better than knowing that the person running the store down the street from you also lives up around the corner from you, and maybe your kids play soccer together, or you're barbecuing together in the summertime, and or skating in the winter, or whatever you're doing. It really is what pulls us together as a community. So I thank all of you for all that you're doing in our community and all the service that you provide. It's my job on behalf of council to welcome you, but all of council is here with us tonight too, and that is super exciting, and it shows you again our commitment to the small business community here. So Councillor Bob Elliott is here. I don't know where you are, Bob. He was here. Councillor Rick Lumack. Rick, over here. Councillor Zoe Royer is over here at the front. And of course, Rosemary and Diana. We're up here, and Jerry Nuttall. Councillor Jerry Nuttall is here. Where did you go, Jerry?
At the back.
At the back, there. I can hear me. Always standing at the back. Gave up the seat. Thanks, Jerry. So thank you all for being here as well. More important than council could ever be, we have a classification of individual in the city called a Freedom of the City recipient. Freedom of the City is the highest honor that we can bestow on a resident who has shown an exceptional contribution to our community, and really these are these stand-up individuals that have changed sort of the course of history in Port Moody. And the first one is Ann Hulbert is here. Ann, where did you sit? Welcome, Ann. Thank you for coming. And of course, Ann was on council for 82 years or something. Ann Kitching is our newest Freedom of the City recipient. Ann, where did you sit? Outstanding. And appropriate that our most recent Freedom of the City recipient in the City of the Arts is the passionate advocate for all things arts and culture in the city and has pioneered things such as the wearable arts. She's the current chair of the Port Moody Arts Society, has overseen the expansion of the Port Moody Arts Center recently, and again, this is why these people get recognized, because they're doing so much in our community. So again, I'm going to ask for another round of applause for both of them. Of course, what we do for business, we do in partnership with the Chamber. The Tri-Cities Chamber of Commerce has substantially grown the membership in Port Moody over the last couple of years. They asked us a few years ago, what can we do for Port Moody? And we said, do something for Port Moody businesses. They're different than some of your clients, and they've really stepped up and have really changed. They've got different levels of membership now to attract people, and they're doing a lot of really exciting events. And while Mike Hine, the Executive Director, isn't here tonight, and I love this title, the Membership Experience Manager. Dana Strong is here. Dana, welcome, and thank you for coming. And of course, locally, a lot of our economic development initiatives run through the City Manager's office, and I know Kevin Ramsey, you were here. Where did you sit, Kevin? Where?
Up above.
Oh, he's up.
Bird's eye view.
It's Mike. Thank you, Kevin, again for all the work that you're doing supporting the small business. And one of the things with Yellow Dog and Moody Ales, the two breweries that have opened recently, and I hate to come back to that theme, but I do support small business usually through my stomach. And the compliments that we get about the experience that they have dealing with our staff, and one of our newest members of staff, James Stivers, is over here. He's the General Manager of Planning and Bylaw Services and Development Services, and we are told everywhere we go that doing business with the staff in the City of Port Moody is better than doing it. You know, we have people who have stores in multiple communities, and they say it's always easiest to get things done in Port Moody, and they help you. They're not a barrier to your business, and we hope that that's true, and that you will turn to them when you need help, because that's what they're here for. So, as Diana said, over 500 nominations this year shows that our business community is not only that it's growing, but that it's more engaging, and that people are really connecting with you and your businesses. So, I need to read a statistic here that I find absolutely amazing and satisfying. So currently our local businesses are contributing to over 7,000 jobs, and these job opportunities are growing, and it says that between 2006 and 2011, there were 850 new jobs created in the city, an increase of 13.1%, which was more than double the 6% increase for Metro Vancouver as a whole. And those jobs are increasing, I think, at an equal or even faster rate right now with some of what we're seeing in the revitalization of the city. So coming ahead of us, of course, is the Evergreen Line introduction into Port Moody, which opens up all kinds of new opportunities for businesses, chances to grow your local business. And that has been the focus of our Economic Development Committee. We had an initiative that was called a BREA that they started, which is a Business Retention, Enhancement, and Attraction. And the group came back and said, can we take off the attraction, because we really want to support the existing small businesses in Port Moody. We want to make sure that they're flourishing and that they're given the opportunities to serve the residents here. And so they dropped the A for attraction, and they've been trying to work with the retention and expansions. And we've got a lot of success stories in Port Moody, and I hope that they continue. And they will, I think, with all of our support. This isn't just about the city, but everybody who needs to support them. So we are committed to supporting our local businesses and, of course, contributing to your success. And we do that not only as a city, as I said, but with all of our friends and neighbors. And tonight we stop and we say, here's all the companies that are doing a great job and that are serving our community well. So I'm going to wrap that up now, because I'm sure you're already tired of hearing from me. But again, I will thank you for coming. Thank you for all that you give to our community. And all that you give back in our community. I know that a lot of you sponsor soccer teams, hockey teams, you give donations to the charities of the Tri-Cities in Port Moody, and that's what builds our community and makes it strong, and I thank you again for all that you do. Have a great night.
I can confirm that Mike Clay has got to be the #1 champion, supporter, and shopper of Port Moody businesses, and I'm sure all of you have seen him in your shop at least once, maybe twice, and maybe even more. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, who has been on the stage previously, Mr. Sean Aiken. Many of you may recognize Mr. One Week Job. Sean grew up in Port Moody, and upon completing school, he embarked on a journey to explore a huge number of career opportunities in order to discover his passion. On his inspirational quest, Sean trekked more than 74,000 kilometers, slept on 55 couches, and raised over $20,000 for charity. During and after the one-week job project, which spanned 52 different jobs in 52 weeks, Sean chronicled his adventures in a book and has appeared in media throughout the world sharing his story. Currently, Sean is a very sought-after keynote speaker, sharing his lessons learned with youth and adults alike. We've invited Sean here tonight to speak with us about supporting youth in finding their passion and perhaps a path in entrepreneurialism. Try saying that one fast. Welcome, Sean. Please join us.
Hello. Thank you. Well, hi. What a gift that we could all gather together here this evening, and what a privilege I have to have a room full of people and have your attention. It's no small thing to be able to share your story in front of an audience, and so I'll proceed accordingly as if it is something special, because it really is. So thank you for your attention. And like all stories, good Port Moody stories, mine begins about 5 years old. I grew up on Campion Lane in Mountain Meadows, and I was playing with my toys in the little sandbox. And it was the first time that I heard this question. And I'm pretty sure it's a question that everyone in this room has been asked at least once in your life. I remember I was sitting there playing, and this big adult person came over to me, and they bent down and they put on their best child voice, and they were like, as if I'd understand the question more if they put on that voice, right? Sean, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like, what? Bubble bursting. I'm going to grow up? What? Okay, get over that. I'm going to grow up. Well, I'm going to have to be something different than I am. Well, then that's an obvious choice, I'm going to be He-Man, Masters of the Universe. I like to say you can tell a lot about my childhood from this photo if you take a really close look at it. Let's get a little closer. We can see that my mom used to cut my hair. Obviously, the bowl that she was using was a little wobbly, or I don't know. She's also in a clay making workshop. I don't know. You also see that there's no stranger to the gym. He's right there. Leg press 400 pounds and wore really short, revealing grass skirts. I only get away with that on the West Coast. So I didn't really understand what that question meant. Sean, what do you want to be when you grow up? And as I got older, and not only did I expect that I was supposed to have an answer to this question, that I should have an answer, but that it had to be something good. People would ask me this and then wait for almost for me to validate, to be validated and acknowledged by my career choice. So I ended up graduating from school, and I did what you're supposed to do, and I went to further school in university, and I took business administration. So I went to Capilano University and did a business degree. The reason I chose business was because I thought that I could put off the decision of what I wanted to do a little longer, keep the options open. In business, I thought, well, I could do anything. And then I graduated, and all of a sudden it was time to face the real world. And I had been given a list of career titles throughout my childhood, but I didn't know that entrepreneur was something that you could do, that you could actually create a business around your values and your passions and your strengths, and bringing community together. So I felt really lost. As much as I was really excited about to be graduated, I was really terrified. I was kept up at night asking myself life's big questions of, why am I here? I remember thinking back to a conversation I had around the dinner room table. It was my final year at school. I was with my family, my dad, my mom, and my sister. And this is actually definitely want to talk about this first. So it's time to get a job, join the workforce, right? And what do we know about work, right? Work is this, you're brought up being taught that work is this tough thing. Work isn't something you enjoy, it's something you endure. I remember, being in the elevator and talking to somebody and being like, hey, how's your day going? And they look at their watch and they're like, well, only a couple hours left that I gotta work, so not so bad, I guess. And I'm thinking about it's a real sure sign of our times where it's this sense of trying to get through the day becomes our daily existence, or for many people. Until we reach retirement, right? And then we get cards like this. My mom got this exact card. It even spells retirement. Isn't that cool? It said, "Congratulations, Mom. Now that you've put in your time and you're 60-odd years old, you've worked that job 40 years, you can start to imagine the possibilities. Don't forget to remind yourself to play." And I love this one. "Hey, Mom, you know that nap you've always wanted to take? Go on. Take that nap, Mom. Hey, without guilt." And I was thinking, I don't really want to wait until I retire where I can finally take a nap or ask permission to take a nap without guilt. Which brings me back to the dinner room table with my family. I'm sitting there with my mom and my dad and my sister. This is my dad. He's a cutie. And we're discussing what should Sean do with his life. And of course, my family all had an opinion. My sister said, "Well, Sean, you just spent a bunch of money to get that shiny piece of paper that says business administration degree. Here's an idea. Maybe you should go and use it. Start a business." Hey. My mom, a little more subtler approach. She was like, "Sean, I think you should be a teacher. You'd be such a good teacher." But my dad, he is the only one that didn't have a specific career path, and instead he just gave me some advice. He said, "Sean, look, it doesn't matter what you do, whatever it is, just make sure it's something you're passionate about. I've been alive nearly 60 years, and I've yet to find something that I'm passionate about." And then he quickly added, "Besides your mother." Her mom was sitting right next to him. And it made me realize how many people are in the exact same situation in their career for 20, 30, or 40 years of their life, and they hadn't necessarily have taken that time to explore who they are and what their passions are, what their strengths are, and is that career actually going to be in line with who they are. And so I set off and had this idea to create the 1 Week Job Project. I'd work a different job each week for an entire year. Little did I know it was me starting a business and getting out into the workforce, and created a website called oneweekjob.com, and I said anybody anywhere in the world could offer me a job for 1 week. And so over the course of the year, I traveled all around North America, everything from a park ranger in Hawaii to a fashion buyer in New York, cowboy in Wyoming, bartender in Halifax, worked at a microbrewery, Steam Whistle in Toronto, which is now out on the West Coast, yoga instructor, dairy farmer, radio DJ, Canadian Air Force, NHL mascot for the mascot of the Washington Capitals. And my final job, week 52, was back in my hometown, Port Moody. I was the mayor, of course. At the time, Mayor Clay was a councillor, and I had the pleasure of working with Mayor Joe Trasling at the time, and incredibly kind and mayoral candidate now, Gaetan Royer. And it was an amazing experience to end the year in my hometown and seeing, being a part of those decisions that as we see our community grow and be in on those conversations. So it was an incredible year, and I realized that it was these small businesses, a lot of these businesses that I worked with were small businesses, and it was their willingness to open up their door to a student, to somebody just recently maybe lacking experience, but just wanting to come in and say, "Hey, I'd like to learn what your profession is all about." And it was just amazing the amount of the warmth and willingness of people to share their story with me. I met some incredible people, and it really is what made the experience special. And so if one thing I want you to take away from hearing my story is this, willingness to share your personal story, especially with younger workers. And it's amazing how that can really bridge the gap between the gap that we often see between generations in the workforce. And one thing about small businesses I found is that it's very easy to connect to the meaning behind what you do. It's very tangible. And the people that I met were the most fulfilled in their life were the ones that were all connected to the meaning behind what they do. So they're very clear on their purpose and how they're contributing to something greater than themselves. It mattered that they showed up to work every day because they contributed something valuable, and something was made better because they were a part of it. I just wanted to share one final story with you about my year. And it was week 42. I was working in Denver, Colorado with a man named Eric Chester. He's a speaker. And one day that week we went for lunch with a good friend of his named Lee. Lee's 50 years old. He's the president of a company that does over $200 million in revenue a year. He's the president and a major shareholder. And over lunch we started talking about one-week job, and I was telling about the ideas that I had, why I had the idea, the inspiration behind the project, the different jobs I had. And I could tell he was really reflective and lost in his own thought. And there came a point in the conversation, you know, where someone's just kind of gazing off and they're obviously lost in their own thoughts, and it feels like you're talking to yourself, so I shut up. And then there was this silence. And then all of a sudden Lee just said, I wish I could just be a coach. And Lee got excited about the idea. He's like, you know, the build up to game day, morning practices, interaction with the kids. And then his voice trailed off. And he had this look of hope and regret in his eyes, and he said, someday. And it's not that he hates his job, it's simply fine. Now, here's a man who's worked his entire life to get to where he is today, president of a major company. Many of us would look at him and say, wow, look at him. He's made it. He's successful. He says, I wish I could just be a coach. So I asked Lee, I said, well, what would you do, if you could do it all over again? What advice would you give? He said, if I could do it all over again, I wish I would have acted without the fear of what others thought. I wish I would have acted without the fear of what others thought. How often do you base your choices on fear? How often do you base your choices on what other people think? This is how I made all my decisions. Right? And I didn't really know any better. I asked a small business owner that I worked with, an entrepreneur, he's from Belcarra actually, Ian McDonald, and I said, well, there's obviously a lot of fear in being an entrepreneur, and how do you deal with that? He said, really simple, Sean. I ask myself this question whenever I kind of feel that little nagging fear come up. He said, what would you do if you weren't afraid? What would you do if you weren't afraid? One of my favorite quotes is from a man named Howard Thurman. Oftentimes we, in business, it's this sense, well, I need a business idea. What does the world need? What does the world really need? What is missing, or what service can I offer? And Howard Thurman, he said, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. What I find so incredibly about being an entrepreneur and involved in small business is that all the people that I meet, the small business owners, are incredibly alive. They're incredibly vital. And I think and that comes from being connected to the meaning behind what they do. So what makes you come alive? What is your gift? What inspires you? What is the contribution that you want to make to the world? More importantly, how can you let the answers to these questions inform your current and your future business and how you live your life every day? So I'd just like to thank you for the important work that you do in our community, and please remember to keep those doors open and sharing your personal story with youth today. Thank you.
Go too far, Sean. So I've actually had the pleasure of knowing Sean since he was this big on Campion Lane. And I can tell you, his family's so proud of him. The neighbors that watched him growing up are so proud of him. And I would certainly attest to the fact that the community of Port Moody has to be very proud of the ambassador that you've become, not only for our youth, but for our city. And I wonder, how often do you use that picture of yourself as mayor? In terms of
I was wearing the necklace and everything.
Sean does have a history in Port Moody. It's not as long as Port Moody's entire.
Not a criminal history.
No. So we do have Port Moody's history book, The Tracks in Time, so you can study about the first 75 years before you arrived here.